which is probably against all of the rules. But I did it anyways because I just didn't know. You will find the little coffee shop that probably serves like the best coffee you've ever had in your life.
I think like tying into that, another don't of when you come to Japan is like, don't assume that there's no like set way to do something or to experience something. Japan is an extremely organized and orderly country, and everyone operates around this understanding that there have been rules put in place, not only to ensure everyone's safety, but to ensure that people can get the best experience that they want. So if you're at an event like a cosplay event or something like that, I think sometimes, especially like me, an American, is always looking for a way to be like, oh, okay, like how do I get what I want? How do I go where I want to go? Where Japan has already put rules and like a path in place. Like there's arrows on the ground pointing you in a direction. There's a certain order of operations in which you should complete something. There's a certain like series of steps you need to take before you can arrive at this point. And you'll notice this, the more you spend in Japan, the more you'll notice this. Like if you go into museums, there is like a route that they always mark out.
Which
in
I did
American
notice,
museums, American museums, you just go and you like walk around and see what you want to see. In Japan museums, you go on a set route, like an order that they have for you to experience everything in, and to go out of that order is a little bit weird. Even in my grocery store, there's no like arrows on the ground, but there's a really clear path that they want you to move
that
in.
people
and
like will actually take.
Yeah, and if you just stay still for a minute and watch people go, you'll see everyone sort of taking it and kind of going around. And the minute you go against it, it starts to like become a problem for people. It's like a hassle for people because you're going against it and there's not enough room. It's always like there's just not enough room to like maneuver around people all the time. So and I say this too. I remember telling my dad this, like when you're in Japan, if you think you're lost in a train station, you're not lost. Just stop and look around. There will always be a sign telling you which direction you need to go.
No,
always.
totally. And I experienced that in Shinjuku Station, I believe it was, because it's just such a massive, crazy station that at one, like it was my first like night or two there, and I'm like walking around. I was like, wow, what is all these things? And then I realized I had no idea where I was walking, and I just kind of stopped and I looked around. I was like, oh, exit sign, and just followed the exit signs until it spat me out onto a street, which is not the street I needed to be on, but at least I was out of the station, which is what I wanted to accomplish because I was just meandering anyways. Yeah. But like you're absolutely right. It never felt like I got lost, even in a big city like Tokyo, right? But I also felt like traveling out there are a lot of landmarks, whether or not it's a building or a park or a shrine or anything. And the way I was traveling out there is kind of like how, you probably travel, where you don't have anywhere you need to be at any certain time, but like there are things you want to see. So however they happen. But I just remember it was Harajuku that has the big shopping alley, right?
Yeah.
So what I would do is, go down the shopping alley, and I'm like, I would walk down it, and I was like, okay, the alley's behind me, so I'm going to go right. And all I would do is, in the back of my mind, like, okay, the alley is this way, so the train station is also this way, and then continue walking. And then it's easy to find that alley again because it's so congested that, found my way back and then head back to the train station, right? Yeah. That's how I traveled out there. So you're right. It's very hard to get like straight up lost in a lot of those cities, even as big as they are.
Yeah. And that kind of brings me or reminds me of like another maybe like don't thing to do especially in Tokyo and Kyoto and Osaka, I think are cities for this. When you're planning what to do each day, don't think that you can get across the city very easily or in a timely manner. So like don't plan to do a morning activity in like Harajuku, for example, and then an afternoon activity in Akihabara. You can do those things, but you'll spend a lot of time on the train. And often I think it makes more sense in Tokyo to pick two areas of town that are adjacent to each other and spend the day like start in one and then walk over to the next one and explore. Trains are really fun to take in Japan, but I also think that the experience of walking through Tokyo is
much better.
Really fun.
It's so much better.
Yeah, you just get a really cool sense of like how people sort of live, and you get to see how like the houses kind of mix and mingle with the city stuff, and you get to walk through some really beautiful quiet neighborhoods, kind of depending on where you are,
Hmm.
and so I think that a lot of people are like, oh yeah, trains, they're everywhere, and we can just hop on one and go wherever we need to go, and that's true. If you really have things you want to do across town, you can do that. But like, don't sleep on the just taking time to like be in a place and explore and really try to see what's going on in a particular area. Try the top rated restaurant in the area, or some like a cafe that you stumble upon or something like that. I think that that is a really fun way to experience Tokyo. That I think because when a lot of people come here, they're trying to hit off all of these like things to do,
Right,
and I
right.
think that exploring specific neighborhoods is just a
You
really
lose.
cool way to spend your time.
I feel you're like 100% correct on that because like I feel like you lose a lot when you just go boom, 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 take the train and just you're done,
Yeah.
right? I kind of saw that the first night I was there. I walked a bunch and then I bought the skateboard and like I started skating around, which is probably against all of the rules. But I did it anyways because I just didn't know.
Yeah.
And being on something with wheels, whether or not it's
Mm.
maybe you rent a bicycle, uh,
Mhm.
potentially a skateboard. I've actually been looking into like electric skateboards, and I don't
Yeah.
think they're legal out there. I have to do more digging, but like being able to just hop off whatever you're on, or whether or not you're on foot, you'll discover so much more. Like
Mm.
you will find the little coffee shop that probably serves like the best coffee you've ever had in your life, but it's
Yeah.
not near a train station. You got to go
Yeah.
find it. Like the major places are going to be closer to stations, but
Yes, and that reminds me. Like 2 weekends ago, 3 weekends ago, I went to meet a friend in Sangenjaya, which is an amazing neighborhood to explore. It's where Persona 5 takes place. So if you
nice.
guys are honestly, if you're looking for an off the beaten track place with some really cool kind of like old school Japan vibes, Sangenjaya is an awesome neighborhood for that, and it's not very touristy. I don't think, in the same way that like Shibuya is, and it's just
Hmm.
down the just like it's like literally one express stop away from Shibuya. Anyway, put that aside. I went to meet my friend there for lunch one day, and we ended up spending like the afternoon together, and we just started at a little cafe, walked down the street a little ways, found a place to eat
I
for
love it.
lunch, had a little bit of lunch, kept walking down the street, found a dessert shop, stopped for a slice of cake, and along the way we just passed through like two really big neighborhoods. Songenjaya is right next to the big thrifting district, and I always forget what it's called.
Oh, that
Um,
sounds like fun. You
but
said
it's where you
thrifting, and
go
I'm
for
all in.
like, yeah, it's where you go for like major thrift store, and it's like Shino Kubo. I forget. But they're right next to each other, and just walking through, it was so fun to see all the little shops and stuff. But then you also get like you get into these really popular places, and you kind of have a purpose. Like we were looking specifically for like
Hmm.
cake or coffee or
Oh
whatever.
yeah,
Yeah, and it was really fun.
I love that because like when we were in Scotland, we did just that where
Mm.
we knew we wanted to go to a few spots, but then anything in between was up for game.
Yeah.
So we would just there was this one where we were on Queen's Mile, and
Mm.
Queen's Mile is very busy, right? It's in
Yeah.
Edinburgh. It's very touristy, but we wanted to go explore it. So we just walked down Queen's Mile. We popped into a whiskey shop or a
Mm.
Scotch, I should say, shop, and we were there for like an hour talking to the owners there about all the different scotches and stuff like that. And he started talking to us about like the what is it? What they're kind of speakeasies, I guess, in a way, but like things only locals know. And
Mm-hmm.
he's like, "Hey, I like you guys. Like, I want to let you know that this bar, literally, whatever, 2 blocks from here, 3 blocks from here, is doing a what's it called per pour? So like they crack open like a $300 bottle of
Oh,
scotch,
yeah.
and they sell per ounce. So like
Oh,
if it's 100 ounces and it's $300, it's $3 an
three.
ounce or
Yeah,
something. They
yeah.
don't upcharge anything,
Ooh.
and like you don't know that,
Yeah.
right? He's like, they're about to open the bottle. I literally just heard, and so and it's funny too because as we heard, we started walking. He's like, go grab a chocolate brownie from next door, and then walk to this because you like eat the brownie and
Yeah.
drink whiskey, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
as soon as we started going, at first I was like, they're walking really fast in the direction we're walking really fast, right? Like it's this different
Yeah.
group of people. And like,
Yeah.
it's probably just coincidence. And sure as hell, they open the door for us to the bar we're all going into to like go get
amazing.
this scotch.
Yeah.
And you don't experience that, I think, if you're just kind of on an itinerary. Right. You don't get those memories of like, oh, you remember that time we like Home Alone ran it to a bar to go get, like, you don't have that.